Okay, thank you. As we prepare to start today's meeting, thank you so much for joining us. And we have a big crowd today, and so excited to have you all here. So we have some superstars and some champions in the crowd. So welcome. So thank you, everyone. And I call this meeting to order at 6:04. And this is our public meeting. And this is our joint city council, successor agency housing authority, and successor housing agency regular meeting Wednesday, August 5th. And so thank you again for everyone that's joining us here, that's joining us here in our chambers, and excited to see that we have a full house today. And also thank you for all of those that are joining us via Zoom or on the city's YouTube channel as well. So participation, as we say, is a really critical, civic engagement and participation is a really critical component of our meetings that we have and part of our engagement. So just a couple of reminders before we move on to our items on our agenda for today. Is the public has several options to participate in today's meeting and to make public comments. You can join the meeting via Zoom, or for today's meeting, the ID is located on the agenda, and today's ID is 861-8767-2634. You can also join via telephone, and the number is 1-669-900-6833. As well, as I mentioned, this meeting is also being streamed on our YouTube channel. So comments, just as a reminder, that are made here are not part of the public record. So in case you want your comment to be part of the public record, you do need to make sure that you either call in or that you join via Zoom, or that you're here in person as well. And as always, we do have Spanish translations that are available for our meetings. So with that, if we can get roll call, please.
Mayor Ana Velasquez.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Fernando Ansaldo Sanchez. Councilmember Fernando Cabrera.
Here.
Councilmember Enrisa Benuelo.
Here.
Councilmember Ben Caldera.
Here.
And I do want to note that for Mayor Pro Tem, he did make note that with the city manager that he would not be able to be here due to work-related matters. So with that, we'll move on to our next item on the agenda, which is our Pledge of Allegiance. And if you can join me in standing and to do our Pledge of Allegiance.
Young men, join us. You guys want to start us off in our pledge? One of you guys want to start it off?
See?
No, just our pledge of allegiance. Want to speak? Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What was your name? David. Thank you, David.
Move on to our next item on our agenda, which are public comments. So under the public comments section, any member of the public may address the council on items that are not appearing on the agenda and that are of interest to the public that are within the jurisdiction of the council. Speakers do have 3 minutes. Please be brief and to the point. If you are going to make any public comments and then you are here in our chambers, if you can please come up to the podium. And if you are on Zoom, if you can please raise your hand, use the raise hand feature so we can recognize you. And just a couple of reminders to the public making comments on Zoom or even making comments here is just please just make sure that we're able to recognize you. And we do ask both the public and the council to maintain decorum during the public comment portion. When making public comments, please refrain from making any personal attacks or derogatory comments. Also, when the speaker has the floor, do not interrupt and allow them to finish speaking. And please note that the council cannot respond during the public comment period. However, we can direct our staff to be able to ensure that they take down your information so they can contact you later if there's any follow-up items. So I want to make that clear so there's no misinformation in terms of what the council can and cannot do during the public comment portion. Again, making sure that the council members, we do adhere to decorum policies that are within our city council rules and policies, and that's accessible to anyone in the public. That is in our website as well. And so my duty as a chair is to make sure that we keep on track and on topic and to ensure we follow the Brown Act as well. So with that, let me go first to see if we have any written public comments. Oh, let me, I did. So let me hear the written public comments and then I will take it out to those that are joining us here in the chambers. And then I will take it out to those that are joining us via Zoom.
I received a phone call, which he asked me to write down his public comments. His name is Art Alvarado. He is a resident of Soledad. Mr. Alvarado asked that when conversation comes up again about renaming the park, the Chavez Park, he would like the council to consider renaming it Veterans Park or Veterans Memorial Park. He does realize that there is already a Veterans Park. However, the current Veterans Park cannot be used by veterans due to the steepness of the sunken-in area. It is very hard for veterans to use that park, and he would like us to consider renaming the park on Front Street as Veterans Memorial Park. He also asked the council to consider upgrading the walkway on Front Street between Oak Street and Nestles Road and make it more accessible to wheelchair-bound and handicapped residents. There are no real safety measures in place. Considering how steep the hill is going up or down, people who use a regular wheelchair who do not have everyday help cannot access our downtown area that way because it's just too steep. He felt the planters were helpful because those did slow down drivers, but he would like sidewalk railing to be added. At least that would give people something to hold on to. That's it. Thank you.
Here in our dais, if there's any in our city council chambers, if there's anyone here from our city council chambers that like to make any public comments, if you can please come up to the podium. Is there anyone here in our chambers? Okay, seeing none, then I will take it out to those that are joining us via Zoom. Are there anyone that is joining us? So let me go. Anyone that is joining us via Zoom that'd like to make any public comments? Okay, I see no hands raised. So Diego, can you just confirm? No, okay, perfect. So there is no hands raised for those that are joining us via Zoom. So I will close the public comment period at this time. Then, thank you, everyone. And we will
Through the chair, we did miss additions and modifications to the agenda. I do know Mike Rodriguez wanted to note a couple of corrections related to business item 1 and 2. I don't know if he wants to address those when those items come forward, but I did want to note that there was, yeah.
Okay, so I'll come back to that. So then let me just wrap up on the public comment period. Since there is no public comments on Zoom, then I will close the public comment portion of the agenda and I will come back then to our additions and modifications to the agenda. So at this time, I will turn it over to our city attorney for any additions or modifications.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we'll move on then to our next item on the agenda, which is our youth council report. So do we have a youth council report that they were coming? The new introduction was until the next week.
Yes, that's correct. They are not coming. I think that just is a hold over on our agenda template. So
So then at this time, then we will go into council presentations, and we do have pretty amazing council presentation certificates of recognition that will be presented to the so let me get this to our major 12. Let me see. Let me make sure I get this right. So it's to our 2026 Soledad Little League baseball for the baseball season, the historic win of the Soledad Little League 12U All-Star District 9 championship team. And so if I can have you guys all come up here, that would be great. So we can present this great certificate to you, to each one of you. And I think we have certificates for all of you. And plus we have some special certificates as well for the coaches. So if we can have the coaches come up here as well. So Darlene, if you can. Yeah, let me see. This is for. Assistant coach. It's on. Yeah, there's four coaches. Okay. All right, so these are all the things.
Through the chair, would it be possible that the parents could line up right here so they can take a picture?
Yeah, so let me just finish, so we can make an line up first, so let me do the presentation, and then we'll have the parents come up. You want to start with, I'll have some start at the top. Make the recognition of the players, and then we'll finish off with the recognition.
Okay, so I'm gonna recognize Ashley Diaz. I believe. Isaiah Silva. And Dominic Torres Velasco.
David Salas. Christopher Pescado. And then Julius Ledesma. Helen. Leon Cortez Lopez. Eddie Patch.
Thank you. And then we'll have the council join us in a little bit. So I also want to make sure that we recognize the coaches. So I'll start with Ivan Rodriguez, who's the manager. So on behalf of the Soledad City Council, congratulations on also your successful. Obviously, the players are an integral part of, also the coaches are significant, right, to the players. So it's a team. And I also want to make sure that we, after we recognize the coaches, that we also recognize the parents, because I know it's part of a whole team, right? It's the players, the coaches, and the parents that all work together to get you to where you were at as a champion. So we're really excited. So as part of the coaches and the managers, thank you so much for your commitment to to our athletes and to making sure that they got to the stage where they're at and showing them those commitments of excellence, those trades of making sure that you guys got up to practice, to make sure you guys were committed, right? To doing what you needed to do to be champions. And so now, you know, you guys get to make sure that you guys share that with your little brothers, your little sisters, you know, the next generation, right? So we want to thank the coaches for your dedication as well, and sharing that love and sharing your determination and your sacrifice to the athletes. So Ivan Rodriguez, let's give him a big the manager. And then to our assistant coach, Miguel Salas. And then Adolfo Razo. And Isaac Ortiz. Isaac Ortiz. So congratulations. And then if we can have the parents come up here, and then we will make sure that we have the council and we take a photo as well. So thank you so much for being such amazing champions. You guys are our super lovely.
Testing, testing.
My glasses. Megan, 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 can you get my glasses? My glasses, sorry. Before. Yeah, yeah, right here. Yeah, we're gonna, hold on.
I got him. Recap, huh?
Thank you, everyone. So we're gonna go ahead and, get started. So we pause a little bit to make sure that we recognize our championship team that's here with us for our little league. So we do want to make sure that we allow for a few minutes, for our coaches to be able to share us a few words. So if you want to go ahead. You ready? You want to, yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, this round was special, man. Everybody here brought something to the table, that's for sure. Coaches, parents, like they're saying, way to commit, and we got the job done. We can do more though, that's for sure. So I ain't got too many words to say, but I'm proud of everyone. Everybody here's got something. So that's it for me. Real simple, man.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the coaches.
Yeah. No, hey, boys, you guys know I'm proud of you guys. Hey, just, like I always tell you, just keep working hard, guys. You know, the talent's there, but it's all mental, guys, for you guys. We told you guys from day one, it was a long journey. We got it done. Right, boys? We got it done. You know, hey, hard work, look, it pays off, man. So that's all I got to say. Hey, be ready for next year. We'll do this again. We're definitely.
Congratulations. So I'm gonna ask any of the boys want to say a few words? Matthew, they're designating you as a spokesperson. Yeah. Don't be shy. Yeah, there you go.
I just want to say, it was a good journey. All the games and like all the fun that we had. It was a good journey.
Good job. Good job. Well, thank you again, boys, for being here. And thank you so much also for representing Soledad and for making Soledad proud. We're really proud of you and proud of the champions that you are. So, you know, we're happy to continue to root you on for next year. So thank you. Thank you for being here. So we're going to continue with our meeting. You guys are welcome to stay here. You know, I see, you know, some future mayors here, some future city council members and supervisors. So if you guys want to continue, we have to continue with our meeting because we have a lot of business, but you're welcome to stay. If not, you guys are welcome also to leave. But again, thank you. And we're so proud of you and congratulations for your commitment, your hard work, and for being champions and for being our superstars of Soledad. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Okay, so we will.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we'll continue with our meeting, and at this time, then we have we'll move on to our consent calendar. So today we have consent calendar items C1 to C12. So at this point, any members of the council wish to pull any items? Well, let me take it out to the public first. If any members of the public wish to pull any items from the consent calendar for discussion, for further discussion or comment? Okay, see no hands raised from those that are here in our chambers. For any of those that are in, that are joining us from Zoom. I see no hands raised from those that are joining us via Zoom. Oh,
Mayor, I think they cannot hear you, so
oh, sorry.
if you can talk
Yeah.
more into the microphone.
Sorry. Anyone that is joining us via Zoom, if anyone wants, any member from the public wish to pull an item from the consent calendar for discussion or comment? Okay, see no hands raised, and I will bring it back to the council if there's any member of the council that wish to pull an item from our consent calendar for discussion or comments. And I would like, okay, I would like to pull item 10 and 11. Okay. So with that, then I will entertain a motion to approve consent calendars, item C1 through C12, with the exception of 10 and 11. Okay, I have a motion on the floor and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so motion carries. And I will, let me go to the items that I wanted to pull. So I want to just clarify on items 10 and 11. I just want to clarify that this is just a cost of living increase, and it's only at a 3%. And I will turn over to our city manager for a brief explanation. And I don't know if we can do both at the same time at C10 and C11. So I don't know, I'll defer to our city attorney if it's acceptable for our city manager to be able to provide an explanation on both C10 and C11.
Yeah, certainly. They're obviously related. So yeah, single explanation is fine.
Perfect. Okay, I'll turn it over to our city manager.
Sure. So this is a cost of living adjustment. We have MOUs for all of the other city employees who, as part of the MOU, are receiving the same cost of living adjustment. Our executive management team is an annual basis. And so annually we come back to council to actually align with the MOU cost of living adjustments. And this is the same, that it's just a 3% cost of living adjustment that has already been granted to everyone, all employees except these 4 individuals. And again, and the adjustment, the funding that's listed is not just salaries, but it's salaries and benefits that the cost covers. We've already anticipated it into the budget. So the budget that will come back to council on the 19th has contemplated this. This has been our regular practice and something that council approved ever since I've been here and many years before I came here. And then item number 11 is a statutory requirement for CalPERS. Every time we make an adjustment to a job classification or a salary, we have to adopt an updated plan. You may have remembered, but we had to do this back when we had the minimum wage adjustments at the end of December. So you will see this periodically from time to time, but it's just, again, aligning our salaries and reflecting the newest salaries. And because they're tied together, because we would make that cost of living adjustment for the management positions, we would also, that ties into the job classification and salary schedule. And that does reflect the one that's before you, assumes that if you approve 10, the 11 also reflects that change.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Megan. And I wanted to make sure that those were pulled. I know there was some questions on those, so I just wanted to make sure there was transparency and clarification in terms of those 2 items and what they were for. Also, as Megan, as our city manager stated, we do have an upcoming budget hearing August 19th. So if there's any additional questions, public is welcome to attend as well. So with that, if there's no additional questions or comments, then I will entertain a motion to approve items C10 and C11.
So moved.
Okay, there's
Second.
there's a motion on the floor, Councilwoman Banuelos, and a second by Councilmember Cabrera. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to our next item of business, we'll move on to our business items for today. And we have 4 business items, and we'll start with business item number 1, receive a revised Soledad Police Department AB 481 annual report and provide direction. So I will turn this over to our city attorney.
Yes, Madam Mayor and Council, I'm actually going to give a single staff report for both items 1 and 2. Item 2 is the ordinance of the City Council retroactively authorizing the purchase and use of 2 FN Herstel 303 less lethal launchers and ammunition and making findings in compliance with Soledad Police Department Policy Manual 709 military equipment. This is going to seem a little bit like deja vu to you because we went through this process in the first part of June, when we brought to you the police department's AB 481 annual report for 2025-2026. And we noted to you that for the first time, it included 2 pieces of equipment that had not previously been listed on that report. And both of those were drones. One of those drones is old. I think it was purchased in 2022 and is no longer functioning properly. And so it's listed, but it is most likely going to be surplus that will not be used. The other drone is newer, and it was purchased within the last 12 months. One of the requirements for military equipment is that the purchase of this military equipment has to be approved by ordinance by the City Council. So back in the first part of June, we said, here's the 2 documents. We're having the police department submit the annual report. And then the process is that we would have to wait at least 30 days. And then we have a public meeting so that people can comment on the annual report. And then at the same time, we're also processing a ordinance that approves retroactively the purchase of the drone. So that's what happened in the first part of June. And then subsequent to all of those actions, the police department discovered that we had some additional equipment that had not been listed on the annual report. And the first set of equipment is 6 870 Magnum 12 gauge less lethal shotguns and 330 rounds of projectiles, which are essentially bean bags. Turns out that these have been in the police department armory for over 20 years and they have never been deployed, but they are a form of less lethal response to various circumstances within the city. It does exactly what it sounds like it does. It's a shotgun that fires off a projectile, and when it strikes you, it stuns. That's the idea. And the idea is to be able to use those in place of more dangerous types of means of stopping or prohibiting criminal conduct. The other set of equipment that we have are some launchers that were purchased in December of 2025. We have 2 less lethal launchers. They're FN Herstel 303. I don't know why I say that. It probably doesn't mean much to anybody, but that is the official title of those launchers, and 760 rounds of ammunition. These launchers, basically guns, fire 2 different types of projectiles. Then the police department purchased both types of projectiles. The first projectile is very similar to the beanbag. It's just a more sophisticated version of it. When it strikes, it is an impact strike to you, and it's aimed at, a place that will stun you, so forth, the chest and so forth. The other projectile actually explodes on contact and releases a form of pepper spray. And it's the same thing. It makes it difficult for you to, causes weepy eyes and difficulty with breathing, and again, slows down somebody. And these weapons, both of them are considered these projectiles, both of them are considered less lethal means of basically responding to criminal conduct, somebody who is holding a hostage, somebody's holding a weapon or something like that. And rather than take a life or risk taking a life or harming bystanders or other police, these are alternative means of doing that. So they are embraced by the police department, and at this point, we're fortunate that they haven't been used. So the same set of circumstances that applied to the drone apply also to these recently purchased launchers, and that they can't be used until they have been approved for retroactively for purchase. So we did the same thing that we did with the drones. We modified the annual report that is being submitted to you this evening to include both sets of the less lethal weapons. And we also then prepared an ordinance that is here before you this evening for introduction and reading. And then both the ordinance for the drone and the ordinance for the less lethal launcher will be brought back to the council on August 19th for second reading and adoption. The staff report said August 16th instead of August 19th, and so I wanted to correct that. It also, the staff report for the AB 481 annual report indicated that the hearing for the annual report was going to be set for August 16th. That was supposed to be September 16th, and that is the date that we'll be bringing it back. So we had already noticed that hearing and so forth. We had to take down that notice. Essentially, we just had to start this entire messy process all over again. So that is what you have before you this evening. With respect to item 1, the council just needs to receive the annual report and direct staff to notice the public meeting concerning the report. And then with respect to item 2, which is the ordinance, we need to have a formal motion to introduce that ordinance, read by title only, and waive the reading, obviously, of the entire ordinance. And then recognize that we will set the hearing for this ordinance for the less lethal launchers and the drones for the next council meeting on August 19th. And I'll just add, all of that will be followed by some action in September to approve the policy again, because that was what this whole thing starts. The police department has a policy that has to do with military equipment that requires the submission of this annual report that has to be reviewed and approved every year by the city council. So it's a lot of process, a lot of procedure, a lot of words, obviously, but at the end of the day, the idea is to make sure that we maintain transparency as to all of the military grade weapons that are possessed by the police department and used or are at least subject to use in the city of Soledad. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike, for the clarification on both of the items and when they're coming back to council on what action needs to be taken on the first and the second. The ordinance number, for ordinance number 783 and then the AB 481 report. So council, let me start with business item number 1 in terms of the annual report. Let me take it out to the public first to see if there's any questions. So in terms of business item number 1, do we have any comments or questions from the public that is joining us here in our council chambers? Okay, seeing none, then let me take it out to those that are joining us via Zoom. Do we have any comments or questions? Okay, I see no hands raised, so I'll bring it back to the council if there's any comments or questions. And I'll start with Councilmember Cabrera. Well, sorry, Councilmember Caldera.
No questions on number 1, but item number 2. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. For number 1, I don't have any questions. Item number 2, are we gonna see this once again, or is there any other items that might be hiding in a certain place? I mean, not hiding, but I mean somewhere else.
So
yeah, no, Lieutenant. Actually, I should say acting chief. If you want to address,
yeah.
please.
Yeah, so if we can have you come up to the podium.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
I can assure you, Councilmember Caldera, that this is the last report and we should be back on track.
I didn't want to put you on the spot, but I
No,
just,
sir.
wanted some clarification. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
No further questions.
Thank you. And so we'll just have you stay up there for
Yes, ma'am.
additional questions if you can, please. So Councilmember Cabrera.
No.
No, I don't have any questions.
Councilwoman Manuelos?
No, no questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have a series of questions, so I think I might as well ask them now because they're gonna come back.
Mhm.
We're gonna come back on the 16th and on the 19th. But those are gonna be public they're gonna come back. We're gonna come back obviously to the public, but I think this is an opportunity for us to also ask questions that we may have now, correct?
Yeah, certainly.
Correct, okay. So
And just for clarification, this will be coming back on August 19th. Both of these items will be coming back on.
on the 19th.
No, I take it back. I'm sorry. The ordinance will be coming back on the 19th. The report has to wait 30 days, and so that won't be coming back until September.
Yeah, the 16th.
Right.
Okay, that's what I had. Okay, perfect. That's what I had. Okay, so let me start with, I had some questions, and just in terms of, and I'll start with the report in terms of the 481. So I know that there was, obviously we had, and I think it was the one with the rounds that we had for over 20 years. And I just want to make sure I know that I read the policies in terms of what the police department has to adhere to. But I also want to make sure that those, the equipment that is 20 years old, that equipment is still effective, that is still the equipment that is based on the best practices, that it still meets the policy standards, given that it's 20 years old. And that I just want to make sure that, that because it's been for such a long time, that it still meets the standards that are still safe for our department, that it still, can be utilized, and we're not going to have any issues with potential liability issues, given that it's 20 years old. So that's one of my concerns is, what do we do with that equipment? Is it still functional? Do we need to dispose of it? What is the policy in relation
Yes.
to that?
In reference to the condition of these firearms, we have gone through inspection. We had our armor take a look at these firearms. We were able to function test them, and they all currently operate as normal, believe it or not. I know 20 years sounds like a very long time, but these items were stored in a secured locker where it was out of sight. And so they're definitely in really good condition.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. And then also in terms of some of the ammunition that was purchased as well, and for the second piece of it, right? So for the launchers, so now this goes into the launcher portion of it. So for those that were purchased more recently in 2025 is, just in terms of the documentation, and I know obviously we have the report, but how do we document, or how does the police department document the obviously there's a lot, you guys are able to do this based on the policies that we have. And I, tried to make sure that I reviewed all of the policies and the different types of equipment that you're able to utilize that are non-lethal type of weapons. So that falls within those non-lethal types of weapons that you're able to use. But how do we justify that that's a equipment that we need for Soledad, and that is also in terms of being able to look at different types of weapons, non-lethal types of weapons, and justifications in terms of, this is what we need, this is how much ammunition, there's a lot of rounds of ammunition, that's the quantity that we need based on, do we base it on criminal activity? Do we base it, on incidents that have happened? How do we justify the purchase and the need? I guess that's what I'm trying to ask.
And that's exactly what it is we've had multiple prior incidences where our tasers have unfortunately failed. They are known to fail. And so having the ability to have just another tool in our belt where we can de-escalate a situation from a safe distance is very beneficial to not only the officer, but the perpetrator and the people surrounding. In reference to the amount of ammunition, I understand from your point of view as to it sounds like excessive, but we have to consider training, right? We need to make sure that our officers are well trained, and with that, we have to use some of these, the ammunition. So a lot of it is going to be used for training purposes.
Yeah, thank you for that. And then let me go into thank you for clarifying that. And so I'll go into the second portion of it, because I know that there was, in terms of the training piece and in terms of the policies that we have of the policy for 308, which is the control devices and techniques, and just making sure, because I know that there was items that we didn't account for 20 years ago, but it wasn't subject to what we're adhering to now, but for the items that were purchased in 2025. So there is responsibilities, and the watch commander obviously is responsible for some of these responsibilities of the control devices by the selected personnel. So do you guys keep documentation of who gets trained to be able to utilize these launchers? And
Yes,
that
we
is everybody trained in the department? Certain people are trained, or?
Yes, ma'am. We currently have we have a program in place where we have records as to who can be trained on, or what individuals are trained on it, and so there is records of it.
Okay, so we do keep that record retention?
Yes.
On those? Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. Then I think I was almost done with my questions in terms of review of the policy. And my last thing is, I know that when it comes to us, we have to look at the budget. And the council reviews like the budget for purchasing of some of these weapons. So because this wasn't caught in 2025, so when we go, and maybe this is a question for Mike and for Megan. So when we review the budget, when we go into the budget deliberations in August, do we need to also consider if there's going to be military type of equipment that is going to be purchased or is being considered to be purchased? Do we need to know at that time that there's consideration for purchasing equipment at that time before we approve the budget?
No, I mean, so we project the equipment costs in a bigger bucket of what we need. But if we were contemplating purchasing anything, we would never, although we did examples of purchasing it before, but we would have to come back to council to get the approval. So right now we're not anticipating that. And there's also times where that equipment might be donated. The military often will donate these things. So even if it might not even be in the budget because it might be free to us, but regardless, we do have to come back if we're accepting that equipment or purchasing that equipment. So we understand that transparency will happen. But at the budget level, we don't get into that minutia because we don't know what our operational needs are necessarily going to be in terms of specific equipment. So we do have a line item related to some of the typical things we do. Ammunition is one thing that is typically in the budget and something that we do annually. But as of right now, we wouldn't have a separate line item in the budget for that.
Okay, thank you for that clarification, Megan. So when we approved the ordinance, Mike, in 2022, does it have, and I didn't review the ordinance because it wasn't part of the packet, but does that ordinance have like the layers of when there is going to be a purchase? And I know we missed this one for 2025, but who reviews that purchase? Like, obviously I know we have the checks and balances, but how do we make sure we don't miss that? I think that's one of my concerns, is making sure that there is no missed opportunities for us to know that there was some type of military type of equipment that was purchased, and there's layers of checks and balances for us to be able to capture that. So do we have some of that language in the ordinance, or do we need to bring that back to be able to review the ordinance to ensure that there is language there to ensure that we're that the policy is there, so we have strengths and checks and balances?
The ordinance will come back to you, and that will happen in September. And you can take a look then. There are, I think that the way that the policy reads, and the policy is the Lexipol policy, is it basically says that the city's purchase, use, so forth of military equipment must comply with the law. But we already have taken some steps in cooperation with the PD to designate a specific individual who is in charge of looking at the intake and possible acquisition of military equipment. And so hopefully from this point forward, we won't have any of these hiccups where the equipment has been purchased and then we have to retroactively approve. So that person, that individual will be responsible for letting the council know that there's a desire to purchase something, making sure that they contact the city attorney so that I can prepare the proper documentation to bring it for you so that the purchase can be authorized by way of ordinance.
And, through the chair, just to piggyback on what Mike is saying, I don't think this is an issue of the failing of policy. It's just an implementation challenge. Now I think the team, more people have been educated. I think a lot of the decision-making was central, was just at the chief level, but it didn't necessarily trickle down to the team. And so that's the big change. It's trickled down to the entire team. And in fact, we have our acting deputy chief sitting in the audience right there. So that, I'm confident that our department, everyone understands this, and this is not going to be an issue in the future.
Yeah, no, thank you, Megan. And I appreciate that. But I think also looking at the ordinance and making sure that we have the language that we need there. And even though that there may be now a different, combination of different layers, that I think the policy is always really important to ensure that we have that language there, right? Because then at least it's embedded in the policy to make sure that the language is included there. And I think that was my concern. I didn't see it. So if it's coming back, we can review it and we can amend if we need to. Okay. Thank you. That's all I had. So I really appreciate all of the layers of oversight and also resolutions to be able to bring this forth. So I really appreciate that. And so sometimes it takes a couple of times before we get it right. So I really appreciate the trying to find a resolution to this matter.
Thank
So,
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Those are all the questions I had. So hopefully there's no more questions in the future. Okay, so with that, then I will, if there's no additional questions, then I will take it one by one. So the first one is just, you said receive an annual report. So all we have to do is just accept the report.
And direct staff to adequately notice the hearing on that.
Okay, so we just, do we need a motion?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think it'd be a good idea to have that in place.
Okay, so I will then entertain the council will entertain a motion to accept the police department report on AB 481 and direct staff to,
Properly notice the public meeting
okay,
for consideration of that report.
okay, and properly notice a public meeting for the report for the meeting on September 16th.
And that noticing requires us to we will publish a notice and we'll also put it on the website with a copy of the report as well. So anybody in the public that wants to access the report will be able to see the fully revised report there.
Okay, thank you, Mike. So do we need to say it again?
No.
Okay, okay. So we're good with that? Then we made a motion. So I can make the motion. Can I just do the motion?
Did we have, I thought we had a first on the motion. No?
No, not yet.
No, okay.
So I'll entertain a motion. I'll make the motion. Let me just make the motion since I said it. So I'll make a motion to receive the annual report, to properly notice the public notice that for September 16th, and for that public notice to be published on the website with the report to be accessible to our community to be able to review the report as well. And this will come back on September 16th.
Second.
I have a second as well by Councilwoman Banuelos. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so motion carries. Okay, so on the second, ordinance number 783, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Soledad, then I'm not gonna read it because on that one, then we need a formal motion to introduce and read by title only.
Right, and I already read the title into the record when we brought the subject up, so you don't need to reread it, so.
Okay, so I just need a motion to introduce ordinance number
Introduce and waive reading.
Okay, so I'll take, so Councilmember Caldera made a motion to introduce and waive
Second.
only. And then, okay, so if we could just let me finish and then we can introduce a second motion, please. So we have a first by Councilmember Caldera and then a second by Councilwoman Banuelos. And so we're good with that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so motion carries. Thank you. Okay, great. So thank you. Anything else? So we're good with those. Perfect.
We're so done with those, yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good night.
Okay, so we'll move on to our third item on our agenda, which is resolution number 6401, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Soledad authorizing the city manager to execute an exclusive negotiating agreement with Sharad Patel and Porus Ahir for the potential development of the city-owned property generally located between Front Street and Highway 101. And I will turn this over to Ariana for the report.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Before you tonight is a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an exclusive negotiating agreement, and we'll be referring that as an ENA throughout the conversation. With the proposed developer, Sharad Patel and Porus are here, who are the property owners of the large central area in the map. So I included a map within the dais for the council, and we're showing that right now on the screen as well. It's the same map that was provided in the agenda packet, but we just added more text to help with the location. So we can update this if needed online for everyone else to access it for a later time. The developer may or may not be online as well if there's any questions, but strictly for this purpose and the action is just between the city council and direction from the council to execute this this ENA. So the purpose of this ENA is to provide a defined period of time where the city and the developer can evaluate the feasibility of a potential future development project. Something to be clear about is that this ENA does not approve a project. It doesn't commit the city to selling the property or grant any development rights. So it's just for us to continue negotiations and talking to this developer and see what that potential development project can look like and if it's something that the city is interested. I know there's been a big push with economic development for the city, and we're prioritizing that as mentioned through our strategic plan. Therefore, an ENA like this is essential for us to continue that public and private partnership with developers to help move those economic development projects forward. A little history about the site. So this history was given to the city by Caltrans through a relinquishment project back in 2010. Due to its narrow configuration and limited access, the development for this standalone property is very hard and it creates a landlock. So in order for you to develop this property, you need to own the larger site, which is what Mr. Patel and Ahir own. And then there's obviously Front Street, which is locking you down to no further expansion. However, when you combine both properties together, the site presents a great opportunity for economic development, consistent with the highway commercial zoning district and also our downtown specific plan, as that is one of the gateway corridors towards our downtown area. Because it is city property, we had to go through the Surplus Lands Act process, which was presented back in 2023 to the City Council. it was a 2-year process to do work with the state. And we finally finalized that process. That process included us notifying potential developers for housing. Then that's the requirement for Surplus Lands Act. However, because of the zoning and the location of the property, it made it difficult for developers to be interested. So we had to go through the process, go through good faith negotiations, and unfortunately nobody was interested to move forward with that. Therefore, now we can have this conversation with a developer. Again, this ENA will help it will help the developer have access to the property, have him do the due diligence in terms of the zoning, utility, infrastructure, and it'll include us within that conversation as well to make sure that specific timelines are also met in terms of him providing information and us understanding what this development project can look like. Approval of this ENA has no general fund impact. The developer has established a developer account with us. So any eligible costs associated with this project, including staff time or any additional studies that are needed and conversations that need to happen, will be 100% funded by the developer. And lastly, this action supports the city's strategic plan. As we mentioned, it's a big push towards economic development for redevelopment of that underutilized land, which creates opportunities for future commercial and within the staff report, potential hotel TOT revenue as well for the city of Soledad. That concludes my presentation. If the city council has any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Adriana. So let me take it out first to the public to see if there's any questions. So anyone that's joining us here in our city council chambers, is there any questions on this item? Okay, seeing none, then I will take it out to those that are joining us via Zoom. If there's any questions from those that are joining us via Zoom on this item. Okay, and I see no hands raised, so I will bring it back to the council, and I'll start with Councilwoman Bañuelos.
Yes, hi, Diana. Thank you for the detailed information, then also the new one with So question, I know when I had my briefing with Megan, I don't know if I was just scatterbrained that day, but the private property is owned by Sherrod. Okay.
Yes, it's currently owned. When interest from the previous owner came forward, they were in process of escrow during that time, but because we have to go through the legal Surplus Lands Act process, we could not go into negotiations or conversations with them at all until we finish the Surplus Lands Act process, which we did, and now we're here to talk about the potential partnership for this property.
Okay, and then for the public again, can you just repeat how long did that surplus take?
It took about 2 years, and that's again because we have to follow the timelines of the state. And we do have to notice about 300 affordable housing developers that are registered with the state. Unfortunately, it's a process, which, it's in good for promoting affordable housing. But this site itself is zoned highway commercial, which, there's a constraint with that. And it's also very, very narrow. So a standalone project would not really move forward unless you have the neighboring property.
Okay. All right. Thank you. No other questions, because I know I'm just going to repeat it again. It's a commercial site, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. No other questions.
Okay, Councilmember Cabrera.
No, I don't have any questions.
Councilmember Caldera.
Thank you, Andrea. I did have a question, but you answered it already. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you, Adriana. I just want to reiterate, in the term of the agreement, it's only for a year, right? The ENA is only for a year. So if nothing moves forward, then it terminates, and then what the next step for the city is to look for other partnerships. I mean, the property owner obviously is adjacent to the city property.
Right. And I think depending on the process, a lot can happen between maybe infrastructure, other items that can be a constraint to that timeline. If we see that the developers moving and progressing, maybe there's an option for extension of that agreement. Ultimately, we wouldn't for anything finalizing in terms of a purchase of sale agreement, we would bring it back to city council to confirm that, this is happening, there's a set project. It just includes us more within the developer's process. But within that timeline, we're hoping to then end with that purchase sales agreement. But eventually, if we need more time, then we can bring a status update to the council and provide a status update overall.
My next question is in terms of looking at other economic development incentives during this 1 year time for the city to be able to work with the developer. I know that in review of the economic development report, we obviously had another hotel that was supposed to move forward, and unfortunately it didn't. So, the plan for this specific property, whether it's a hotel, it's still commercial, retail, obviously, I know we've been working at this for quite some time. I know obviously the Surplus Lands Act process is lengthy, but I think we've been looking at hotels I've been here probably the longest, so it's been a long time. And so, I know that we have projects in the works, but also trying to be realistic about, how do we really make sure that it's strategic and that the city is really positioning itself to be able to look at something that's viable. I know obviously we have, we can't say it's going to work out or not, but what do we do in the interim to ensure that we're also working through the year to look at other potential economic development incentives that can be paired with this, project, or if we're going to enter into this, that it's more viable than just entering into the CNA.
Right. So, and I think one of the big key differences is that the CNA we're collaborating with the property owner to be more involved in the process in terms of what he's doing also, and for us to provide other resources and connect with him. In terms of the other hotel project, it was completely private development where our incentive was not only to create a hotel incentive program, but also help streamline the permits and help with any other, deferring fees if it comes to that point to streamline the project.
And I just want to add also this ENA is enabling the property owner or the developer to really market a larger site. So one of the things that is important for them in their financial planning is to be able to have anchor tenants so that it's multiple companies coming together. So having a larger site really allows for them to have those stronger negotiations and really try to get larger stores or retail but that's a big reason why we engage in this conversation with the developer, because having a larger site is more suitable for other types of needs. And the developer is on the line if he wants to speak about how this ENA allows him to also move his project forward and incentivize or help him also create his financial plan.
Yeah. So is that okay, Mike?
What have the developer speak?
Yeah, and I think for me also my last question, because I know we had a hotel incentive program. I that was several years ago. I don't know if that's something that we still have that can still be used. So I guess for me, it's just the relevancy of entering into this and then having something that's really more fruitful and more viable.
Through the chair, I think the biggest challenge we have with our incentive program is it requires prevailing wage. And so when that factor is added to the private development, then the developers tend not to be interested. And I know when we were looking at the Ross deal, the one thing that we could do that wouldn't necessarily trigger that was the like a loan, a deferral on the development impact fees. And from my experience, that's probably likely what we're going to see. But this ENA allows us to explore what kind of incentives that will work for the developer and bring those back to council for consideration. But we kind of need to, as a former colleague of mine said, is that the ENA is like, we're deciding to date. We're not committing to marriage yet, but it helps us see if we can get to that point of being very serious. And so I think this allows us the due diligence time to really talk to them and talk through like what kind of incentives can we support, and will help them, but also that we can financially also support, given our financial circumstances. And so this is the first step, but there'll be many steps, and they'll come back to council for your consideration at that time.
Thank you, Megan. And I know the developer was online. I don't know if he's online. Okay. I can't see him. Oh, he went to panelists. Okay, perfect. Oh, yeah. Thank you. So do you want to unmute? And I want to say Sharad. Sharad, do you want to unmute?
I think I just did.
Yeah,
I don't know if you can hear me or not.
Yes. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I just want to say that since 2023, we've been in this process of being in escrow with the property, speaking with Ariana and Megan. And as Ariana had mentioned, I guess the state of California and the excess land mandate and affordable housing, that took an extended amount of time. And in that process, we went forward with closing escrow and purchasing the property, but also with the intent to speak into the city at a later time to try to join the two properties together to get a better development. And to get a better development, we needed to secure the site in a manner to get more interest for a mixed use commercial use from other developers that may want to come in. And that's the whole purpose of this ENA.
Yeah, thank you. So you didn't have site control before. You have site control now. Got it.
Right. We have site control. We own the property that we own, but to have site control in the sense that the city property is no longer in cloudy waters or with the state of California or housing. The city owns it now, and now we can put it together as one parcel and also have a legal description and then work with other developers and mixed use.
And just to clarify a little bit on that, so the property always belonged to us, the one highlighted, outlined in red. However, that's the property because it's city owned and it's a public property. We have to go through that Surplus Lands Act, which takes the longer process. So for any city owned land, that's something we always have to consider before we enter to a private negotiation.
Got it. Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Sharad, for
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. Okay. Well, thank you, Ariana. Thank you, Beatriz, as well, for the potential. Hopefully, it's something that we can move forward with, given that we've looked at many years of trying to bring something to fruition. So hopefully, this works out. Okay, so if there's no additional comments, then this is a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute the exclusive negotiating agreement. And so I'll entertain a motion if there's no additional comments or questions from the council.
So moved.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with Councilmember Cabrera and Councilmember Caldera as a second. And so there's a motion on the floor, Councilmember Cabrera and Councilmember Caldera. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so motion carries. Okay, well, thank you and wish you good luck on, hopefully that can work out. We have a year to try to find out. So, okay, so we'll move on to item number 4. Resolution number 6402, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Soledad accepting a $310,000 grant award from the California Department of Transportation Sustainable Transportation Planning Grant Program, and authorizing the city manager to execute the grant agreement for the vehicles miles traveled and greenhouse gas reduction project. So Ariana, you're gonna take this one
Yes.
too?
Yes, thank you. So as mentioned, the resolution presented tonight is to authorize the city to accept a $310,000 grant from Caltrans. This grant will fund the development of two major planning efforts for the city. The first one would be a climate action plan and then a transportation demand management policy plan. These documents will provide strategies to reduce vehicles miles traveled. So the climate action plan, we'll call it as a CAP, and then the transportation demand management policy plan will be referred as TDM. There's a lot of acronyms when it comes to documents. And then vehicles miles traveled are VMTs, and greenhouse gases are usually GHGs. All of this so that we can help improve mobility options throughout the city, strengthen the city's long-term goal for sustainability and environmental resiliency. Just really briefly, a CAP is a long-term planning document that identifies strategies and actions a city can take to reduce those greenhouse gases and climate change impacts. This is also primarily focused on transportation, energy, land use, and infrastructure. A TDM are strategies that help reduce reliance on single occupancy vehicle trips. So it's focusing more on transportation by encouraging alternative options and efficient travel patterns throughout the city, such as improving walking and cycling paths, transportation, or transportation strategies for future development, which is the biggest one that we see here in Soledad. Given our street and layout of Soledad, when it comes to major development, such as Elman Acres, the biggest impact is not having policies. Therefore, they have to go through an environmental review for VMT analysis. So implementing a strategy or a policy plan like this will help development projects move faster with the environmental review. All that being said, right now is the ideal time to move forward with this CAP and TDM because we're working on our 2045 Siempre Soledad process update. Within this general plan and all the work that we've currently done, we've done a climate change vulnerability assessment, which pretty much asks what are the environmental risks that Soledad is currently going through. And that is being analyzed and implemented through all the different elements within the general plan, but it specifically focuses on the safety element. So with that question being asked, the CAP will establish the question, okay, so what actions are we going to take to meet those goals that are being identified through this general plan process, but also that the state is telling us that we have to meet. So that's how it relates to the general plan. And then with the TDM, which focuses on transportation, it gives us those specific actions of what we should take to reduce transportation effects within the city that supports those goals of the climate action plan, which are reducing VMTs and greenhouse gases. So I just wanted to make that connection in terms of why it's related to the ongoing efforts. So pretty much if the grant is not being provided to the city, we just stop at our general plan, and there's no implementation efforts after that to help meet those state goals. And we would have to seek funding or, focus on that in order to comply with state requirements on reducing greenhouse gases. And it'll slow down development for housing, and most importantly, and commercial. So once awarded, the grant requires us to hire a consultant through the RFP process. And part of the grant also requires a large portion of community engagement. So we have to show a timeline of when we start and when we finish, and we have to continue that community engagement throughout. Therefore, we will be working with residents, business, and local stakeholders, MST, the school district, to make sure that they also are involved in this conversation when we create these policies, and they identify transportation challenges, develop practical strategies that reflect the Soledad's needs and priorities. A lot of work has already been done through other planning efforts with public works, such as the Vision Zero plan, safe routes to school. So we'll still take all that information, but there's a lot more that goes into the policies and still engagement that we will need to do. So I've mentioned the project cost or the grant is $310,000. However, out of that 310,000, there is a local match requirement, which is 35,557, which is about an 11.7%. And that will be provided through existing staff time dedicated towards project administration, coordination, outreach, and grant management. The remaining, which is 274,443, will be provided by Caltrans for that work that we need to start on the climate action plan. And no additional general fund appropriation is being requested at this time. The proposed project is specifically mentioned in our strategic plan as an action item. And again, it's a perfect time that this grant came in. This was the second attempt to obtain funding. That we're finalizing our general plan. This grant is helping us to continue those policy making efforts. So once the climate action plan and the TDM policies have been completed through the public planning process, we will return back to City Council with the final documents for review, consideration, and potential adoption on that process. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. So let me take it out to the public first to see if there's any questions on the Sustainable Transportation Planning Grant from Caltrans. So do we have any members of the public that are here in our chambers that have any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, then I will take it out to those that are joining us via Zoom. Oh, sorry. Okay, and I see no hands raised, so I will bring it back to the council. And I'll start with Councilwoman Bañuelos, if there's any questions.
No, Ariana, thank you so much for the detailed presentation too. And it's excited to get that grant from Caltrans. So I know that we're going to be using it and applying it, you know, as it should. But thank you so much. No other questions.
Through the chair, I just wanted to make a comment real quick. This is a real testament to Ariana and Beatrice. They took a losing proposal and turned it into a winning proposal, and they did it without grant writer support. So I just want to give them a lot of kudos for that.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Okay, Councilmember Cabrera.
Actually, couple of them. I got
Mhm.
the dates
Mm-hmm.
because yeah, so I got a little confused with the dates.
Mhm.
So we have until 2029, right? So that give us three years. That means that we're gonna get the money to plan, execute, everything else within.
Yes, that's correct. So the grant, the last, I think it's in July of 2029 when the grant expires.
August,
Sorry?
August 9th.
August 9th.
29th.
August 29th. And I think within July, that timeframe is the last day for us to submit for reimbursements. So we have to send quarterly updates to Caltrans in order for them to reimburse us for the work that we're doing. For the most part, it's going to be the consultant procurement fees. We'll have to go through the RFP process and give them those quarterly updates of the work that we're doing. Right now, because we're finalizing the general plan, we can then move forward and actually focus on creating this CAP and TDM and implement as well throughout that timeline.
And out of that $310,000, we are putting 35.
Yes, as a local match, but it's based on staff time, which is usually staff time is from the general fund. So my time wouldn't be recompensated from them. It's just being used as grant management and administration.
So, and just my final, could you give me an example of what kind of project we could do with that? You mentioned the walking to school project, but um, earlier somebody made a comment about put something on the street so the people with difficulties or with disabilities can hold on to. Will that qualify for one of these?
It could, and I think for the grant purposes, we have to focus it on greenhouse gas and transportation for VMTs and greenhouse gas reduction, as it's a priority for the state. So Caltrans received this funding and we applied to obtain this. The biggest thing that we want to focus on is to, again, analyze our current risks and then create that climate action plan and transportation demand policies to help future development projects reduce or no longer be considered for a VMT impact, because then that has to go through a separate environmental review, which kind of slows down development. By us having these policies and requiring specific commercial or housing projects to follow them will help mitigate those impacts as they're being constructed and we monitor during that.
So will this be just plannings and regulation and laws rather than an actual
Plan?
project?
Correct. So we'll have a separate document. So it'll be like our general plan, which is the constitution of the city that tells us where you can or cannot do within the property, and it regulates zoning. The same thing would be with these two different documents. It's going to be a physical policy plan that we would implement with new projects, or just projects that will have an effect with VMT and greenhouse gases for us to stay within our certain goal levels and comply with the state.
Was too little money for a big project. Man, what can we do with $300,000?
I know.
To reduce all that. All right, thank you so much.
And through the chair, I might just to bring it down to kind of a level that people understand. When we did Almond Acres, it would have qualified for an exemption, except that because of the location in a rural community, we are triggering too many what they call vehicle miles traveled. And that required a really lengthy environmental process. Through this, the city can come up with its own policies and come up with actual reductions that could apply to that site. And maybe one of those reductions is that they offer bicycle uses of bicycles, and they have bicycles that people can just take. And there would be a certain evaluation or point reduction on their impact that would be applied. And if you have enough of these policies or strategies, like a menu that you could pick from, like I'm going to do these 3 things, we could have exempted them from that impact. And maybe they would have been able to do a much lesser environmental review. And maybe to some extent, it could be less enough that they would have been exempt. So that taking 2 years to get the environmental could have been something we could have done in 6 months, or maybe even, it would be categorically exempt. So that's why this is important, because we're disadvantaged as a rural community, the way that the state is defining vehicle miles traveled. But this will give us a tool and help a developer take that menu and reduce those impacts and move forward in a much more expedited way.
French bicycles. All right, thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Caldera?
Yes. Just a couple of questions. Maybe they may not be relevant to what we're talking about. So green gas, would that apply to vehicles like at a stop sign when they're idle?
The greenhouse gas emissions. Yeah, so I think what the goal for the state is to reduce those emissions overall, and having less dependency on single owned vehicles is essential. So providing more options for public transportation, maybe encouraging more bicycling or walking to no longer, emit those greenhouse gases. And it also comes to energy too, as those are also part of those greenhouse gases emissions. So what other energy policies can we create that, again, the example for development can be a requirement that helps reduce those emissions.
Okay, so that leads me to my second question. Then. Being that the vehicles are at idle, would it be an option to remove some of the stop signs and put speed bumps instead of stop signs so the cars are not idle at so many stop signs that we have? And I mean, and I know we have the softer kind of speed bumps.
Mhm.
Would that be some project that we may look into
Um,
that can qualify for this grant?
mhm. In terms of land use, I think one of those policies are to, implement something like that within their subdivision or maybe apartment complex, something that can help avoid the idling. We can look more into that in terms of what that means for just the reduction of greenhouse gases and what policies are available and try to implement it.
And through the chair, the stop signs are not really they're based on a safety need. So a speed bump may not have the same safety impact as a stop sign. But I will say that as we're looking at planning, roundabouts are one of the things that are actually, they do calculate and it's something that we're looking forward because you usually have a stop light there so that you're idling much longer than a stop sign. So that's where this, because it's a planning grant, will align with, we can look to see about implementation of roundabouts and the most effective roundabouts to keep people moving. So that is one thing that we would probably be looking. I know people don't all love the roundabout, but they're really good for reducing
I don't mind.
GHG.
And I think that's it for me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Adriana, and congratulations again for getting this grant. I guess my only concern and being around for a long time and sitting on MST for, quite some time and sitting on TAMSI for some time now is that there's a lot of regional transportation plans as well. So hopefully we're looking at those and as well to be able to look at, what is relevant to us, right? I mean, there's a lot of plans already that we have throughout the region. And we're supposed to be included in those. So, what is really relevant to us and what do we take from there? And what is, what can we utilize that is really feasible? The other one that, I know we weren't as involved in, but the county also had a climate action plan. And I know that I tried to, try to be present as much as I could to some of their action plan meetings to see what were they, what were some of their action points and some of their goals, but it was difficult, right? But they did put something together and I don't know if we've taken a look at that, what they,
Yeah, and that goes back to the brief explanation I gave about where our current status with our general plan. So in order for us to, assess the policies through our general plan, we had to do that climate change vulnerability assessment that pretty much says what is the risk that Soledad has or face right now. And our consultants with our general plan PlaceWorks took all those regional plans into consideration and apply it within the certain elements to then bring back those policies. So we have a pretty much a foundation with that right now. And the next step is to now create and align those align it with the state goals so that then we can implement. And again, creating those menus or things like that when it comes to development projects or just projects in general with the city.
Okay, good. Thank you. And I know with that, I mean, we obviously, one of the expanded uses is transit, active transportation and mobility, right? Partnerships. So I think for me is, I know one of the things that I heard over and over when I was with MST is the transit oriented development concept, right? And wanting to make sure that they were included whenever we're doing developments, not in the middle or when we concluded the development, but before development. So the TOD concept, and I don't know, like, they had, I mean, the TOD is also a menu of, hey, these are the different things that you can do to ensure that, there is the mobility piece included, right?
Yes, and that's also part of the requirement for this grant that we have to look into that. And one of the proposals we said is collaborating with MSD throughout the process to prioritize the circulator bus. I know we've been in conversations with MST that they want to expand that circulator bus, which helps us with those TOD goals. And for us to continue those partnerships and allowing them and, planning with them the routes that are effective because of the great high increase of our existing circulator bus right now. So that's something that we'll be also implementing with with this plan.
Oh, good. And then my other question is also, I know, the big push at the state level also was in terms of the reduction of GHGs was really on the clean energy piece, right? And with that, I know that there was funding for the electric vehicle program. And I know that there was a lot of concerns, at least when I sat on the board, that we only have one rotating seat with the South County cities. You sit on the 3 CE, and the lack of funding that really came to South County, and the incentivize portion of it, where a lot of our residents under that concept is really hard to get the voucher program, submit the vouchers for the electric vehicles. And so a lot of, that is also the reduction of the greenhouse gas emissions, but that component is really unrealistic for many of our families that don't have that kind of disposable income for the electric vehicles. So I don't know if that's another concept, but if we're looking at clean energy and looking at electric vehicles, is that being considered, and how do we really make sure then that we're advocating at the state level to ensure that we have the funding and that the money really comes to our communities, especially rural communities that we've been left out of that funding source. We have the Tesla has their chargers here, and we have chargers everywhere, and people stop by on the 101, but many of our residents, we do have some residents that have the electric vehicles, but not very many.
We can definitely look into that and how that program can be established through this planning document. As mentioned, it is also including energy and sustainability for the city. So not only transportation, but again, all the different greenhouse gases. However, I think in terms for Caltrans, transportation is the biggest key. And as we've seen throughout developments projects, and not to bring up again Elman Acres, but I think that's the most recent project that that VMT impact is the one that really affects the development process. And if we do get new commercial development or annexations to the city, it will continue to do so within the entirety of the region. So we can look into the energy part as well as we plan through the planning document.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you. Those are all the questions that I had in terms of that. And you guys are already looking into other stuff, but thank you so much. Again, congratulations on getting this. And this is a great addition to obviously our mission of what we want to see in our general plan. And so congratulations. So with that, if there's no further questions, then I will entertain a motion to approve resolution number 6402.
Motion to approve.
So I have a motion, and I'll do a second on that. So we have a motion on the floor, first for Councilwoman Bañuelos, second by Mayor Velasquez. So motion on the floor, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so motion carries. Thank you. So thank you so much. So with that, we are done with our items. We are done, at least with our business items. So we'll move on to our mayor's reports and acknowledgements, and go ahead and see if I can get started on my reports. I'll start with the most recent meeting that I attended, which was a TAMZ Rail Committee meeting talking about, I forgot the power about rail. I did attend the TAMZ Rail Policy Committee meeting that happened on Monday of this week. Just a couple of highlights on that. They did talk about the Central Coast Service Deployment Playbook, which lays out how passenger rail service will be built along the Central Coast. So for us in Soledad, we are included as part of the Federal Corridor ID program. And this is for future rail, for a future rail station that's planned in Soledad, but obviously that is dependent on whether we have state and federal funding, and that won't happen until we have federal state funding, and probably not until 4 to 5 years or maybe even further. But in the near term, what they are doing, it's launching the first passenger rail round trip between San Jose and Salinas. It's expanding service on the step-by-step southward toward communities like ours, hopefully in the future. We also talked about the Salinas Rail Kickstart project, and that's to support the future expansion on phase 1 improvements that are already underway. And that's upgrades to the Salinas train station with the new layover facility in Salinas and track improvements along the Salinas-Gilroy corridor. And also just something to highlight, which I think is really exciting, is the regional partners exploring a pilot passenger rail service between San Jose and Los Angeles ahead of the 2028 Olympic Games. So that's coming, in the next 2 years. So which is really exciting, and to see how we as Soledad also can participate, obviously, as part of that, and how our residents can take advantage of being part of the Olympics as well in 2028, and how we position ourselves. I think it's important to start the discussions in Soledad, how we start positioning ourselves to really highlight what we're going to do and work with our businesses in terms of the 2028 Olympics. And also I'm not going to do the dates because I don't have them here, but I also did the reading with the mayor, and this is to highlight the Dolly Parton, sorry, I'm spacing, but the Dolly Parton Imagination Library for our children in Monterey County as well. And this is a partnership with First Five for all children within Monterey County 0 to 5 to be able to get books, free books for until they're 5 years of age. And so we're really encouraging everyone. This is free, so making sure that they sign up, and this is really promoting literacy, which is really critical to the success of our children. Also met with Megan and with Ana Ambris and with Soledad Soccer Regional Complex last week to review how we can coordinate to distribute 200 FIFA World Cup soccer balls that I was able to get from the 2026 World Cup that we'll be able to distribute. And this was part of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. So we're really excited to be able to distribute that to our kids. And then also yesterday I attended the National Night Out. And last week I was on vacation, so I wasn't able to attend some of those events. And then just on Saturday, we'll have the Relay for Life, Paint the Town Purple. And so we do have, last year, I know Councilmember Caldera and Councilmember Bañuelos and myself attended the Relay for Life in Salinas. And we're thankful that we brought it this year. We're gonna have a joint with South County cities. And so it'll be this Saturday. So we invite everybody to join us. That was a torch we got last year. So wanted to make sure that we had it here for everyone to see. And we're inviting everyone to join us on Saturday and recognizing and honoring everyone in our community that has either passed away or survived cancer. So that's it for me. And with that, I will turn it over to Councilmember Caldera.
A couple things here for me.
Make sure you turn on here.
Yes, thank you. I attended the Mercadito. What date was that?
August 1st.
August 1st. Yeah, August 1st. Before that, on the 21st of July, we attended the ribbon cutting for Gonzalez at the Fitness Center. 24th Historical Society, and also the following day, the volunteer firefighter family get together there. On the 29th, attended the budget workshop. On the 4th, which was last night, the community night out, yes. And that is it for me.
Thank you. Councilmember Cabrera?
Yes, thank you. I spaced out and I don't remember, but we attended the ribbon cutting for the communication boards at the Orchard Lane Park. Then I also attended the that's what's it 24 for the Soledad Historical Society had an exhibition for the volunteers, firefighters, volunteers, and I heard so many good stories. I was asking them if we could gather those stories and create a book, write a book so that our residents can read about it. And then I attended the National Night Out the other day, and I think that is pretty much it. Yes, that's it.
Thank you, Councilwoman Ramirez.
Yes, okay, so I attended the farewell barbecue for Andy from the Mission Rec District. I met with Tao, and she is from the St. Vincent Preventative Care family. She wanted to bring those services here in Soledad and South County, so I connected her with the Family Resource Center, and also hosted as a co-chair for the 4th of July event. I also as subcommittees, I did meet with Councilmember Cadera for evaluation and music at the park. I attended music at the park and hot summer days. We also did a special meeting, council meeting on the 14th. I also was invited to the Boys and Girls Club Summer Showcase in Gonzales, and it was a great turnout. I also attended the Community Budget Workshop. And as part of the Citizens Advisory Committee for CTF and Salinas Valley, CTF actually donated backpacks for the back to school backpack distribution hosted from the Soledad Family Resource Center. And I also attended on the 30th a listening session, art competition in King City with Supervisor Lopez's office. I also did attend on Saturday at the library with reading with the mayor. I took my grandson, and it was a great turnout. And I also supported Gonzales as their grand opening for the Benefit Fitness along with Councilmember Caldera. And on the 24th of July, the Soledad Historical Society actually honored all the Soledad volunteer firefighters, and it was a great turnout, and just to honor them and their families, and then having that display. And if you have not seen it, I would encourage you to go see it tomorrow during Farmers Market. And Farmers Market is there tomorrow. And I also supported the Family Resource Center back to school backpack distribution. I also attended, and thank you for Steve bringing the barbecue social at the Orchard Park Lane. From the blind and visually impaired from Monterey County. And I attended Mercadito again this past Saturday, and attended a national night out, and it was a great turnout. And again, we'll see you guys tomorrow at the farmers market.
Thank you. Okay, with that, I'll on to our next item to make city manager's report. Amazing.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I did want to give special kudos to Councilmember Banuelos. We received actually a thank you note from the Family Resource Center for all the work that you did. So you did more than just attend. You actually helped them a lot. So thank you for that. I did also want to acknowledge Me Memorial Hospital and Mike Howard because in addition to the Relay for Life banners, Me Memorial is doing a campaign about healthy South County. And so they sponsored the banners that we are able to put out in our community. So thank you to them. Thanks to the mayor for the leadership on the Paint the Valley Purple with Relay for Life. We also have banners that are going, or hopefully in the next couple of days will be up. We literally just got them this evening. So that's why they're not up yet, but we'll be putting them up before our event on Saturday. And we had the highest participation. So kudos to everyone for getting that out to our residents. The event is from 8:30, I believe, until 2:15. And it starts in King City and ends in Gonzales. Our portion is from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. and it's also a health fair. So I invite the public to attend. They'll actually be doing blood pressure checks and glucose. So if you know of anyone who wants to do that, please come. Wanted to thank the police department for an excellent national night out. It might have been our largest attendance. And again, just kudos to our new chief Ariola and deputy chief Santiago, who were here this evening and are stepping into the role. We're going to put out some bio information so the public becomes familiar with these. They probably really already are familiar with them, but we want to definitely show what a great PD team we have. Just wanted to let folks know that the cooling center, whenever it rises above 95 degrees, we do open the community center for people to get to cool off. So if there are any seniors or other people that need air conditioning, we will have space, even if it has to be on the weekends. But we do close, so we tend to be at the hottest hours, which tend to be right around noon, and usually by 4 it cools down, and then that's when we would close. I did want to thank the mayor for the 200 FIFA soccer balls. That was a great accomplishment. And then August 14th, we have music in the park. And then lastly, just a reminder that we are still accepting applications for candidates, but the time is drawing short. And the last day to submit the packet is Friday. So I would suggest you make arrangements to pick up a packet tomorrow. And right now we don't have anyone who's pulled papers for District 1. So if you're a District 1 resident, come on down and one of us can help you and provide the packet. We really want to see candidates come forward so we have a great election. So with that, if we do not have someone in for District 1, we probably will have to do a presentation at the next meeting about what that will mean. And it might even mean a special meeting. So just in case. So anyhow.
I think Darlene has one.
Oh yeah.
I just wanted to add, if you don't know if you're in District 1, we do have an interactive map on our City of Soledad website. You can go there. You can also call me or come here, and I'm happy to identify what district you live in.
And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. And we'll move on then to our future agenda items, and I'll start with Councilwoman Bañuelos.
None.
Councilmember Cabrera?
No.
Councilmember Caldera? And Megan, I have one item, and I don't know if it's future or just a status update, but I know when we approved the Mercadito on Front Street, I did have a request about meeting with the business owners on Front Street just to get feedback in regards to any issues or concerns that they've had. I know I've had some, obviously I talked to you about that, but wanted to make sure that we did have a meeting with the business owners on Front Street. So not sure whether that happened or not, but if you can give me, if you guys have, if I can get a status update on that, please.
Yeah, absolutely. We have been meeting, and I think Tencia is planning on a El Cafecito, but in the evening to help more Front Street businesses participate. But yes, we can give an update on what kind of outreach we have been doing. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And with that, then, if there is no other items of business, then we will adjourn this meeting at 7:57.